History will probably record the Cold War as one of the greatest blunders of all time, where the great powers just wasted so much money and effort and energy in preparing to annihilate each other instead of getting along with each other. And we did learn a lot of history on our visit thanks to Olga.
So what we can see now in this sculpture is the Russian Tsar on horseback, which was quite a traditional way of portraying the monarchs. The snake under the horse's legs is just a symbol, you know. Many people try to find significance, what it is all about. But in Peter's days, there was, of course, some resistance to some of the reforms he made to Russia's life. The country became more westernized, and the snake represents some of the forces which confronted Peter's reforms. We cannot say that the snake was really poisonous, though, because Peter was the autocrat. He was the ruler who would never stop at executing a couple thousand people on the spot, you know. So in his days, the resistance was not really very strong. His hand goes directly to the west because Peter had very westernized education and he was oriented to the west. He got all his ideas from Western countries. And the interest to the West in Russia has always been very big. And the interest of the West in Russia is also very big for several reasons. First of all, because it's still the world's largest country. We still are the richest country in mineral resources. The population of Russia is about 30 population of the world today, probably, or even less, you know. But we have about 60% of all mineral resources. And how much we have, it's a strategic secret. They never tell it. But the resources are enormous. And that is why we have now very big attraction of investors coming to Russia. But due to the instability here, it's not yet resolved. So Peter the Great was the first to point to the West. So have some time here and then we go back to the bus.
Peter the Great.
Peter the Great.
Hey, everybody can wave.
The backdrop of the statue of Peter the Great makes a terrific photo op. So we all take advantage and everybody gets a picture. You're seeing our Hawaii group. There was about 30 of us traveling for 18 days through St. Petersburg and on into Scandinavia. And we had a most enjoyable visit. We go back every year with the Hawaii Geographic Society on a similar trip as we approach St. Isaac's Cathedral. This is the most beautiful and largest of all the churches in St. Petersburg. Statue of Nicholas I out front, one of the important czars and leaders of the country. St. Isaac's looks kind of like St. Paul's in London on the outside, a little bit like St. Peter's in Rome on the inside. It's highly elaborate, beautifully decorated in the Renaissance style of European architecture. It's nice to be able to walk into such an important monumental building and have everything explained to you by a local expert like Olga.
Now it was built from 1818 and the construction was completed in 1858. The architect of the church was Auguste Montferrat, and this architect came from France. He was selected by Alexander I of Russia. So the construction was started under Alexander I and continued through the reign of Nicholas I of Russia, his younger brother. The interior of this church is so beautiful that it is sometimes called the Museum of Russian Minerals. It has marble inside. Altogether they used 14 different kinds of marble for this design.
And this is all native Russian marble?
It is not only Russian. The marble was brought from Russia, from Finland, from Italy, and also from Greece. So the marble is 14 different colors. Mostly the marble of the floors came from Russia and from Finland, while the marbles of the walls was brought from Italy and from Greece. So the cathedral had very many workers doing the work at the same time for 40 years. You can see there are 12 apostles, 12 figures. So you see that each important building in St. Petersburg is both Russian and foreign. And this city was a cooperation of Russian craftsmen and foreign architects. So it has a little bit of everything. Now speaking about the central part, you see it's a very pretty circle made in the center. And that was where some of the most important visitors would be standing during the service. In the 20th century, when the church was closed for visitors, Stalin decided it was too beautiful just to leave it to the church and too large because people in those days were afraid to go to the church. It was just dangerous. A person could be arrested for nothing, let alone standing and praying to God. And so it could accommodate 14,000 people at a time. So the church was closed and they opened here the Museum of Religion and Atheism and Anti-God Studies. Okay? Now let's move a little bit further here. The church has very interesting climate inside. It's cool, it's pleasantly cool compared to what we have outside. If you come here in the winter time, it would be exactly the same temperature. And the secret here is because they have very wide walls. The walls here serve as insulator, and whichever the temperature outside, it would be plus 15 degrees centigrade, even in the worst winters. Now speaking about the materials used here, they are very expensive, of course, and very rare. You can see here columns of malachite, which is a semi-precious stone. The malachite came from the Ural Mountains, and there are columns, 2 columns of lapis lazuli. Lapis and malachite are mosaics. They are not one-piece stones. So they would first make the basement underneath, and then tiny bits of the precious stones would be glued to them. After that, they would make the polishing so that it looks like one-piece column.
On the other hand, the columns on the outside of St. Isaac's are each made out of one piece of granite, and each weighs over 200,000 pounds. A truly monumental building.
They have a lot of gold on these cathedrals here on the top.
Is that real gold?
Sure,
yeah. Gold.
But the toy is beautiful, nice.
Yeah,
and the
really.
guide knows everything. She was born here, yeah?
Yeah.
She grew up as a little girl, though. It was a perfect guide you picked.
And right next to the cathedral on St. Isaac's Square in the heart of town is a luxury 5-star hotel, the Hotel Astoria. There are several deluxe properties like this in St. Petersburg. There's the Nevsky Palace, there's the Hotel Europa, and here at the Hotel Astoria you can have a most comfortable visit, but the price is quite high. Be prepared to spend about $300 a night for a room at a minimum. Or if you'd like a suite, you can pay twice that. They do have a swimming pool. They have a deluxe restaurant, beautiful lobby, very high level of service here. This is geared more to the Western businessman who's on an expense account, has a big budget. So for the independent traveler or for the American group, you might not be staying at the Hotel Astoria, but it's nice to drop in and have a look anyway. make use of their facilities, then head back to our tour bus, waiting for us in St. Isaac's Square.
Oh man, tremendous, beautiful.
Cathedral.
Yeah.
It's a good day. We have a nice day today.
Yeah.
Sunny.
Okay, the rest is over. Time to get up and get back on the bus and resume our city tour with Olga as we drive past some more of the monumental, beautiful structures of St. Petersburg. There's so much to see here that in today's program we're just presenting a small sample, and we will show you more of St. Petersburg in future episodes of World Traveler.
So this cathedral has a very, very unusual name. The name of it is Cathedral on Spilled Blood. And the name comes from the fact that here was murdered the Russian Tsar Alexander II. The murder happened in 1881. You remember I was talking about abolition of serfdom in Russia. It happened in 1861 to the decree by Alexander II. To Russia it meant good thing and it meant bad thing. It was better for the serfs, but it was bad for the aristocrats who lost their property. They lost their serfs and many of them became poor. So what they did, they went to the cities from their real estates, from their lands, and they formed the new class of people. That class was called intellectuals or intelligentsia in Russia. They became writers, they became poets, they became lawyers. They had to do something for their living. But because many of them were very frustrated with what they lost, they formed the groups of resistance against this very Tsar. And that is why there were 7 attempts against his life from his former courtiers. So they, the people who murdered him, they were from aristocratic families in the past. The murder happened on the 1st of March 1881, and they exploded a bomb at the Tsar's carriage. So he was deadly wounded, his both legs were torn off, and inside this church it still is being restored. But if you go inside, they show the place where the pavement is torn apart by the explosion, and the Tsar was, the reason why they built this church is because the Tsar was canonized.
This church is somewhat modeled after St. Basil's in Moscow. And just across the street from the Church of the Spilled Blood is a big outdoor market filled with souvenirs for the tourists. One of the most popular items is these little dolls.
It's dolls.
Dolls.
Matryoshka. Matryoshka.
Matryoshka. Matryoshka. They're all matryoshka?
Yes.